Let's see if we've got Mr. Ohuabunwa back. Thanks again for joining us today. I was talking about the second wave of COVID-19 and how the kind of messages we're getting from government. So from your perspective, how would you describe those messages? Is it clear-cut? We all know what to do, how to approach it. Are we largely on the same page with this one?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I believe that if there's one thing that the government has done well in Nigeria regarding the management of COVID-19 is consistency of message. I think that the government has been on point from beginning to now, and they've taken it as seriously as we would expect a responsible government to do. The challenge is, are people responding appropriately, accordingly? There seems to be continuous level of disbelief, continuous belief for people to accept the reality of COVID-19. That's the challenge I think that we have. As for being consistent in message, they are doing well. And as for second wave being reality, it is all over the world. It is coming very strongly, perhaps much more infectious, more lethal than it was the first phase. But Nigerians, I really don't know what else that needs to be done to convince them that they need to take precautions to save their lives and also to save the lives of those who are near and dear to them. So I think that the government is on point and they are perhaps putting the right emphasis. It's better to overemphasize this than to do less.
All right, now, okay, we'll be back in just a moment. Just stay with us. Well, Mr. Ohuabunwa, there was a point you made about government's consistency of messaging or communication, and then an increasing level of disbelief. Clearly, two opposites. It means that, look, the messaging, as consistent as it may be, as you've said, clearly not having the desired results that it should. Why, if you could tell us, why do you think that there is that increasing level of disbelief among the people?
Well, I think the thing is, it's just because God, I mean, permit me to say God has been very gracious to us, that we are not having the same level of infectivity, we're not having the same of morbidity as many nations are. Because if we're having as many people infected and many people die, as we've seen in the US every day, I mean, more than 3,000 people are dying in the US every day, and it's been consistent over several weeks. And if that were to happen in Nigeria, certainly no.
If it's frozen on us again. Yeah, Mr. Ohuabunwa, good to have you back. But I was going to ask you, in those countries, in the States, for instance, where you say there's a high level of death, but we've also seen in the same country, different states there, where people just said, no, we're tired of this lockdown. We don't want any of this anymore. So they're asking questions. Some don't even believe it. So there's still dissent, a huge number of dissent in those states. So how then can we can we then say that maybe because we're not seeing as much death? Could that really be the case?
Well, it is, because right now I'm in Abia State, and I know that the government of Abia State has issued several notices, put some regulations, some even much more superior to what NCDC has said, or what the PTF is saying. Yet, I went to an event yesterday. I was the only person wearing a mask. I looked like a very odd fellow in the crowd. I don't think we can force people, except if we decide to make a law and then put, I mean, to be sincere, we are not the best in keeping to laws. Look, we have traffic laws, we have all kinds of laws, and yet people are breaking them with impunity. But this ones relate to healthcare. I believe, if you ask me, government is doing its level best, both at local and national levels and state levels. It's left for the citizens themselves and also for communities to put pressure on themselves. because that's probably maybe much more impactful if the community leadership, the development associations in different towns and villages can come out and enforce this. But the point is that I was asking them in Irish, where I come from, since this COVID, has anybody died? They say nobody has died. What about people who are sick? They say they've not died. There was just a time a few people had malaria and everybody got well. That could be what was the closest to having more people had malaria, and that was all. So it just the fact that God is gracious to us and people are just not believing. Communities are at best. Federal government can do its bit. States, the communities, if they are seeing the result. But people want to believe what they see. That's the way. If you tell them Jesus is coming again, they say until we see him. If you tell them there is kingdom and hell, they say until we see them. That's the way people behave, and there's a minimum to what we can do. Or we can encourage those who have care for.
Hello?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, yes.
Yeah. I'm saying that we have had to deal with health emergencies for years in our country.
Yes, I heard you. The thing is this, the thing is that it is just the logical framework of human beings. They see malaria patients every day around them. They see people with polio. They see people with chicken pox. They see people with cholera dying and stooling all day. One family shouting and yelling. Everybody in the community hears it. But this is not the same. This is not the same. You can't believe Arichku is the headquarters of Arichku local government, a whole local government. I was making inquiries. Has any family lost anybody? In fact, has anybody reported sick as having COVID since January or February? And they told me none. So no matter the kind of message you give them, they will just think it is not real, or it is for you guys who live in the towns, who are committing sin, or who are cheating us, who are eating our money. You are the ones who are God is punishing you. But for those of us out here who are in poverty and penury, nobody, so we're okay, God is taking care of us. That's the sort of thing that is going on. So I don't think we can blame the messengers or the medium of passing the message. I do know that not only have individuals, those of us who live in towns, we've sent messages, we've sent palliatives, we've done house to house, we send people, mobilize people to go house to house to speak to people, take care of the old people. They wear the mask for 1 week, 2 weeks, and they have not seen anybody sick. So they just throw it away and wonder what your problem is. So I don't know, we should be breaking our head on this. I personally think, that's my own feeling, that in terms of communication, we seem to have done well. I don't know what else. People from some villages will take gong and be going beating gongs just the way villages pass information around the town. And yet people just don't keep a damn at all. They talk, they mock at you if they see you wearing mask or talking to them. But I and my family, my wife and I, were here. We are wearing a mask whether you are happy with us or not. So anybody who cares for himself, where the day, I just pray it doesn't happen, but the day we do see a sudden change of mortality or morbidity, then people may change their behavior. People like to see what they want to do. This is my thinking, and now that we are going to talk about vaccine, you know how much effort.
Just a quick one before we get to that. Were you? It appears as though you expected that there will be cases in Arochukwu because you were sending palliatives right there. So you must have been disappointed, perhaps, when you got there, you didn't see any. But when they told you that there was none, was it genuinely that there was none, or you thought that they were covering or hiding something?
They're hiding nothing. In these communities, you can't hide anything. Where are they hiding it from? Hiding it from who? They're not hiding anything. And I go around. Since I came around, I've been to most of the villages in my town. I'm involved in so many community efforts and events. So I have not heard. I have not been told this person died. This person, is in the hospital. My house is close to the general hospital here, and I've talked to the doctors. If people have come, like I said, there was a time there was some malaria that looks seasonal. More people have malaria than usual, and it could just be some sign of it. But that was it, and they got their normal malaria treatment, and they felt well. So They couldn't say it was COVID. For example, we don't have a COVID center here. Nobody's testing anything here because unless if you are sick, then they move you from 2 hours or 3 hours to Umuahia. And who wants to go to Umuahia to go and test? So there may be a few hidden ones. I cannot say that with certainty, but it's not at a level that is visible and for people to notice. I think that's the way I can explain it.
Well, now about the vaccine. What do pharmacists think? What do you think? Because, I mean, given some of the scenarios that you've just painted, there are those who just think, well, not too sure about this vaccine. What is your impression about it?
Again, well, like I said, it is historical. You know the battle that we have fought to get even our children to take vaccines, polio vaccines, meningitis vaccines, and all kinds of vaccines all over the country. It's usually a very hot matter that comes with all kinds of interpretations and innuendos. But, again, with sustained effort with the primary health care team, the National Program on Immunization, and partnership from multilateral and, bilateral agencies, we were able to overcome. And today, the uptake of those vaccines, childhood vaccines, have increased. I believe the same will happen here. At first, there may be some, because of the same lack of belief and skepticism we have seen, but many of the enlightened people will take the vaccines because the vaccines have been proven to be effective globally, and Nigeria was part of the trials, I believe, in the global trials mandated, mediated by WHO. And so when the vaccines become available, people who really care for their lives, especially the elderly and those who are very exposed, the frontline people, healthcare professionals, people like you in the media who are always traveling from one place to another, we should take the vaccines because all these theories and conspiracies don't make meaning to me because they are just myths, which we believe with these myths over several centuries. This will happen. The world will end yesterday. The world will end tomorrow. This one will, and none of them has happened. The day it will happen won't be. It will happen because you say it will happen without our notice. So why bring all those fear to people? My thinking is, let's go through the scientific process, admit the vaccines, distribute them effectively. My only worry is, do we have the technology, the facility to keep these vaccines in the cold temperature they are supposed to stay? That's our worry as pharmacists, because the 2 to 8 degrees we have to put the existing vaccines we use here is difficult to assure in the presence of no electricity all over the country, and you have to depend on generator. I ran my generator all through the night today, and if the light came when it came, it was as if you couldn't even light one bulb. I'm talking about in Aruchukwu. I don't know what it is in Lagos. I know it will be better in Lagos, but that's the way it is. So when you have this kind, and the people in Aruchukwu will need the vaccine, how do we get it to them? What kind of infrastructure do we have? That's the challenge.
One thing, Mr. Ohuabunwa, but the bigger challenge perhaps for me would be what you mentioned earlier, which is how do we persuade the people who do not believe in a disease to take vaccines for a disease they do not believe in?
Well, that is going to be the tough part of the work. It's tougher than asking them to wear face mask or do social. As tough as they are easier than asking them to do vaccine. I mean, it's like asking somebody to take a medicine when it's not sick. Nobody likes to take medicines when they're not sick. But again, that is where the skillful ability of communities and health workers will come to play. Like I said, for the elite, even in Irish where I am here, the elite will take it. Those who travel around and who are worried about their health and not will take it because they want to live good lives. and they don't want to die. But the average, or, permit me to say, looking at the level of poverty in Nigeria, quite high level, over 50% poverty. Those ones are more concerned with surviving today than wondering about tomorrow. And so they treat it with disdain.
Yeah, it's also among the elites that a good number of people have said that this communication about whether or not COVID-19 is real, or it's as debilitating as it's been touted, or is as dangerous as people are making it look. It is among these elites also that we have people who are saying, no, it's not that, it's not as serious, it's all a hoopla and all of that. So if we have some elites saying that, and we have some elites saying, no, let's take it as seriously as it has been announced, where then lies the fate of the common man, as they say?
Well, I agree with you. That's where there is confusion. But the saving grace in all this is that we have a consistent message from government. That's what excites me. I've never had government say things from different sides of their mouth. From beginning, they set up the PTF and gave it to a very humble servant, Boss Mustafa, to lead, and he's leading a pack that's committed to this. That's my reading. I mean, I've had my quarrels with them of the late adoption of so many things, but I think that they have done well in keeping the message consistent. The state governments have also taken suit, and they have done the best. Some worked hard to establish PCR molecular laboratories in their state capitals, working with NCDC. I personally think that in terms of passing information, we've done fairly well. I mean, everybody can improve. There are areas we needed improvement. For example, today, like I said, if anybody has COVID in Aruchku, how does he get tested? Since we can't use rapid tests, everybody must use molecular tests that is just few and far, and he needs to travel on 3 hours on bad roads to go to Umuahia to get a testing center. So this is the area that we haven't done well. We haven't liberalized testing. We have not done much testing. But my point is, in terms of communicating, the mitigating precautionary measures, we seem to be doing well. All we need to do is, when the vaccines are ready, as you said, your own problem is not the infrastructure of storing them. That's my own problem, really, because how do I get vaccines across to the to the country, around this nation? 704 local government without electricity, without good road network. How do you get vaccines to them? Especially the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine. Even except when we wait for the AstraZeneca vaccine, which seems to be the one you can store at the normal room temperature or the normal refrigeration we get from our fridges. That is the issue. I haven't had anybody tell me how we're going to move these things, what kind of systems we put in place to provide the cooling effect, not minus 70 degrees centigrade. I don't know how we're going to get that. So that is where I think we should put effort. When the vaccines are ready,
that is
those who don't want to take it we can't beat them. But there are a number of people now who want.
Let me put this in. I think that is part of the reason why the president of the Senate was telling the committee, look, he was suggesting that they put on hold the rush, if I could use the word, to go and acquire the vaccine, and then I think they said they'll spend over $400 billion at $8 per person, for 70% of Nigerians. And then he says, put that on hold, get infrastructure in place so that when you then get the vaccines, you can have and then distribute. But that's on the one hand. But as we wind down, what do you tell people who say, look, we've seen people who are leaders, some of them who say they contracted COVID, they were healed. They took certain things to boost their immunity, and then they're okay. And several other people are doing some of those things, and then they're equally getting better. So why will they need to take vaccine? What do you tell those kind of people?
What I need to tell them is that I have a friend, a medical doctor, who in Abuja, who had COVID the first time and was healed. He got the second COVID and he died this month. a medical doctor in practice for many years, a medical doctor. So that's what I can tell them, that COVID that we haven't established the immunity level that the COVID is giving, and it depends on the size of the inoculation that the COVID, the kind of immunity it will give. It hasn't been established. Then other comorbidities, other underlying disease conditions that can worsen your case and make you more susceptible to the lethal and damaging effect. Secondly, I have always seen people who say they were healed or cured, but they have had long-term effects, and we will not know what the long-term effect, because it has carrying of your lungs, carrying of your internal organs, your respiratory organs by COVID. The fever may go, but the healing may not have finished, and you never know what other things that can come long-term. The safest thing for anybody is not to have COVID. You can't gloat that you have it and you are healed, so you can be careless with your life. I believe that is death wish for many people. Go and prevent COVID as much as you can. Some people have tried to prevent it, like this my doctor friend, and yet he caught it. Perhaps in the effort to help other people.
Okay, then.
Secondly, take the vaccines when it comes. Take it. It's safe, generally safe. So take it, and you lose nothing.
Well, even though there are several reviews now talking about different warnings about who can, the side effects, where has it been tested, how long. So there are always concerns that people need to hear them speak about before they jump at it. But we do thank you for your time this morning. Sam Ohuabunwa, President, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria.